Alright, welcome to Baldman Fishing. Today what I thought I'd do is review my Cruisecraft Explorer 575. Okay, we've owned it for about 4 months now. I'll just go through some of the things about my boat that I like. It's not brand new. It's a 2005 model with a 2007 Honda 135 horsepower. What I'll do is go through what's on my boat setup, what I've added to the boat in the last couple of weeks or months, and some of the things that I'm thinking of doing in the future. First of all, let's set up the inside. Okay, I've got clears which work reasonably well. They're in pretty good nick. Lowrance sounder that does the job at the moment, and it's in a good position here where I can sit down on the chair here and look at the screen and be able to sort of keep an eye out on the back of the boat too when I'm down rigging. Having an empty dash at the moment actually works well to put all my phones and all those sorts of things. With the 135 horsepower Honda, it's got the old analog gauges. It doesn't have the all the fancy gauges that the new motors have, but it does fine. Probably the biggest thing I'm missing is I've got a fuel gauge rather than something telling me by the litre from the motor. A digital gauge, but it's basically got everything: trim, RPM, miles per hour. But obviously the GPS is where I get all the speeds, and also VHF. It's got a 27 meg. Probably get rid of that 27 meg eventually and update the CD player, which does the job, plays some tunes. It's got hydraulic steering, okay, which works a treat. I haven't had hydraulic steering before, but it's so easy to use, especially on a boat like this and a motor that size. You need hydraulic steering. The gauges here, or the switches, I've got a bait tank switch. We've got the bilge pump, lights for the inside of the boat, anchor lights, nav lights, and so on, all the standard. And then a voltage meter down here. Radio, going back to the radio here, this is in a good spot, easy to use, and the layout's pretty good. I'd have to check out what sort of sounder I could actually fit there eventually, whether I fit the Lowrance back here and then a new setup here. We'll see how we go. What I like about this boat is the width of the back of the boat. Okay, you spend most of your time here fishing. Okay, I don't know if you can really tell through the video, but yeah, it's got heaps of space and pretty comfortable. Down the sides here, it's got plenty of room for storage. I've just got some junk at the moment, some sinkers and so on, but plenty, you know, you can put your gaffs and all those sorts of things. I've got some speakers underneath, that's where they were fitted, and the fire extinguisher up there, but plenty of storage areas here on the sides of the gunnels that you can put lots of stuff. We've got a light up inside here, if I get it on, and there's plenty of storage. Again, I've got a lot of junk at the moment, filling up some of those spots. Retrofitted these here. Okay, this Explorer model didn't have the bunk infill cushion, so what I've done is actually made my own for now. It does the job. I've done it in 2 pieces. Just carpeted it. Okay, underneath there's possibly, sometimes what I do is put the toilet underneath here, so there's a little bit of another storage area really. But with these that I've put here, I've actually made some foam cushions and I can sleep in it, so it makes it pretty good area for me. I'm not very tall, but we've slept 2 people in here. It's not your bed at home, but it does the job. Underneath here too, there's 2 storage areas where I just put some things like the ore and a few other things that I don't normally use, and there's another one under this side. And these areas may have been bigger, but it does the job. Up the back here also, it's nice and enclosed and neat, tidying up where all the wires and all those sorts of things for the sounders and radios and electronics and so on. So it's pretty good how it's sort of hidden away, but it's nice and neat in here and comfortable to sort of get out of the way at night and relax. The seats, I've got just the original seats. They swivel seats, comfortable enough. Eventually probably go to something, a captain's chair of some sort, to make it a bit easier, but for now they do the job. There's a handle there where you can hold on if you've got a few people on board, but also then you've got the seat that folds out at the back here, which works pretty easy. It's got a little stand so it doesn't fall down, a little area when you're sort of entertaining if you're not fishing. Kids like to sit there at the back of the boat. Heading underneath here, it's probably a bit dark, but it's a big area there. We've got dual batteries set up, one set up in the back here, and then another one in another little storage area, but it's got another battery set up in the back here, so I'm running the dual setup, which is great for when I'm overnighting or offshore. You always got 2 batteries. Okay, just with the switch there, the battery switch, easy to use. Rod holders, I've got one here, one there, one on either side. Here on this side, up the top we've got the rocket launchers, which are pretty sturdy. This is awesome. Okay, this slides out. It's pretty easy to sort of undo 2 sides here, and then just pushing that back in if you want to get it out of the way. Easier to get to the rods, especially for a guy like me. That's the only problem. I can't actually reach those rods. I've got to actually climb up the side, which is another good thing. These here are pretty wide, nice to be able to sit on, and nice and wide and comfortable if you want to sort of sit on them, which is nice and handy. Original Cruise Craft bait board. I've changed the top. Okay, so the top here, I just went to a kitchen place and bought a really thick piece of chopping board, and Retro sort of fitted that, and it's worked nicely. It's nice and heavy. It's not going to blow away. Okay, so I can sort of leave the bait board on travelling or whatever I'm doing. But the bait board's awesome. This bait board, it's got 2 rod holders, bit of storage area, stuff you can put under there, drainage pipe and so on. So the back area of the boat is quite good. Also got a bait tank. Okay, use that a lot and it's awesome. It's huge, keeps a lot of slimies alive, which need a big area and a lot of water flow. And in the back here I've got a pretty big Jasbo pump running the live bait tank, and also the deck wash. And never had a deck wash before, but deck wash is awesome feature. Eventually I think I'll even plumb it with some fresh water, so if I'm doing an overnight trip and you've been fishing, it's easy to wash down and feel a bit fresher at the end of the day. Plenty of room, awesome in terms of for this size of a boat, easily 4 people, you know, get around without getting into each other's way. Yeah, this canopy, all stainless, awesome, nice and strong, walk around no problems. At the moment it is a little bit loose. I've got the bolts off. That's the only problem to get into this shed, that I'm about 5 centimeters too high, so I actually have to fold it down, okay, which is another good feature, that you can actually undo 2 bolts, one there, one on here, and one there, and then it all folds down, so it's quite easy to do. So you just does that, okay, and I can actually reverse it back into the shed without causing any damage to the rocket launchers. In the floor, okay, it's also got a storage under here. Okay, I'll keep the ropes. I've also used it as a kill tank before. Works quite well. Put a couple of bags of ice in it, a bit of salt water, keeps the fish fresh and cold and well prepared for cleaning when we get back to the boat ramp. There's a 160 litre tank down the middle of the boat, which is filled through a filler on the side of the boat. So that's the inside of the boat. I think it works well for what I want to do. I run the downrigger out here. I've actually got another rod holder here where I put the rod and the downrigger running from this rod holder there. I have strengthened this rod holder here with a plate, okay, from underneath, just to cause less stress, and probably I'm going to end up eventually doing that to all of my rod holders, because when you're kingy fishing and so on, they will break the rod holders when you get a big fish, if they're not reinforced well. Okay, what's awesome about this boat is the way that it rides in the water. Okay, I've noticed that, you know, especially when you're going with the current, with the swell and so on, rides awesome. It's got to do with this hull. Okay, it runs beautifully. Yeah, okay, running into a swell, it does bounce a little bit. I don't have trim tabs. I'll show you the back of the boat in a second, and something I'll probably put on eventually. But look, for me, if it's that rough out there that you know, you don't intentionally go out to be when it's rough, and I've been out there and it's really rough, you just take it easy and you get home. Never do you feel like unsafe in this boat. And this trailer is in reasonable condition. It's a Dumby trailer. Couple of things I've done is I've replaced all the cables for the braking. These rollers here can be a pain. I don't know if it's a bit too dark to see them or not, but these conical rollers had to get specially sent from Queensland, and I've replaced all those conical rollers. A bit of work, but for putting the boat onto the trailer, it is awesome. They can come in at any angle, with a bit of speed if need to when there's a lot of current and wind, and it always comes up the centre and never have any issues. And I've replaced all the bearings and all those sorts of things on the trailer, and it runs beautifully. I did a trip to Bateman's Bay, checking it every sort of hour and a half, and didn't have one issue in the whole trip. Got a nice front also that makes it easy to anchor and those sorts of things, because there's a big area, and that hatch there makes it quite easy to actually get out the front. I'm only small, but easy to actually get to the front, get your anchor out, because I don't have an electric anchor at the moment. Maybe that's something that I'll put on eventually, but for now I don't use the anchor that much anyway, apart from when I'm with the family and the kids. So what I've got for now does me fine. Bit of muscles, or just get the decky to do it. I've got the VHF antenna on this side, the 27 meg on the other side. Eventually I'll give it a good polish to get it back up, but it's in reasonable nick already anyway. I'll probably do that every 12 months or so, with the amount of times I use the boat, just to keep it in good condition. The fuel filler. The only problem with these fuel fillers is this breather here. Just trying to still work that out, because normally I've had a fuel tank I filled from inside the boat, This one here, I don't know if it's when it's not level or if the weather's warm or whatever it is. Sometimes you get a few issues where you start filling up and the fuel sort of blows out through the breather. So trying to work it out. I think the last couple of times I've filled it out, I haven't had any issues with it. But I'll keep you posted on that part. But I'm hoping that what I'm getting to is even filling the tank 160 litres that it is, without having the digital gauge to sort of gauge exactly how much I'm using, whether I'm actually being able to get 160 litres of fuel into the boat. And I don't really want to test that either and run out of fuel either. This is the 135 Honda. It's a 2007 with a stainless prop. Does the job. Yeah, I was looking for a 150 horsepower originally, but this more than capably and efficiently pushes this boat along with no issues. And you don't even know it's on. It's so quiet and idle. When you're trolling along, it's no fumes. It's beautiful. So 135 Honda, never had a Honda before. Awesome motor. Piece of timber, I just put it with a bit of marine cover just to make it a little bit nicer and not to wreck the paint on the motor, on the outboard, just so it's nice and sturdy and doesn't move while it's moving around. Recommended by my mechanic, by the way. It's got one bung plug, okay, easy to use, and I just strap it down here with two straps. Easy to do when I get to the ramp. It's basically two straps, take out the timber, trim the motor down, and off I go. I'll put the aerial up. It's not a half an hour job to set the boat up. But that's my cruise craft. Okay, so to sum up, the Cruise Craft 575 Explorer, it's a 2005 model. I love it so far. I've only had it for about 5 months. Yeah, I've fixed up a little few pieces here and there. That's anything with any boat. Anyone that's owned a boat knows that you're always upkeeping and changing things and fixing things. There's always things you want to add. But I'm loving it as a fishing boat. Beautiful. I can fish on my own. It's not too awkward in terms of size. But if I'm taking 3 or 4 people out fishing too, it's got plenty of room. The deck layout, the space. I've got a little area under here to sleep if I need to, or just take some time out. When I'm fishing with the kids can go underneath into the cabin. It does a lot of things, so it's sort of like a multi-purpose type of boat. Things that possibly may need tweaking here and there, yes, maybe trim tabs when you're going into a swell, but I just take it easy. If you do get caught out, you never feel unsafe, as I said before. Eventually too, probably the carpet, change it to maybe some type of sea deck. Now it's doing what it needs to do. I suppose as I catch more fish and it gets smellier, the missus will probably tell me to change it, and that'll be the green light to spend a bit of money and changing the flooring. But there isn't much, outriggers. I don't have outriggers at the moment. That's something I'm looking into, probably the next thing I'll do. But apart from that, electronics, outriggers, and a new carpet, for a 2005 boat, there's nothing really else that needs to be done. So, thumbs up for the Cruise Craft 575. If you're looking for one, that's the whole point of probably doing this video. That I know I was looking to buy one of these boats, and there's a few things going around, but this is a latest update of what I think about this boat. And yeah, I'd love a 595 brand new Cruise Craft, maybe in 10 years time, and they're 10 years old and I could probably afford one. But anyway, keep things simple. Old man fishing.